In this video, we're going to learn the basics of managing and creating learning pathways within SuperPath. A pathway is a series of lessons usually completed in a specific order, which we call steps. A pathway can have as many steps as you like, and each pathway can be any type of learning, including videos, podcasts, articles from the web, or any of the content. Please refer to the Managing Library content to learn more about how to upload content to SuperPath. To view your pathways, you can simply click on the library and click on Pathways. Here you're presented with a list of all the pathways that you have access to. Managers, admins, and owner roles in the SuperPath have access to manage pathways. As an owner and an admin, you have access to all of the learning pathways within your organization. As a manager, you only have access to those pathways that you create or ones where you have been added as a collaborator. I'll discuss this a bit later on. From this initial pathways list, you can see all the pathways that you have accessed and you can help to build. From this list, you can perform several actions. You can assign the pathway, you can add collaborators. In this case, I might want to add a teammate to help me build the pathway. You can view a quick snapshot of the reporting to see who's been assigned and their progress. You can also export that progress. You can also copy a pathway. This is a great way to modify a pathway slightly for either a specific learning group or a specific time of year, and you can also delete a pathway. Let's get started with creating our first basic pathway. To create a pathway, click Create Pathway. Here you can choose from a bunch of templates or simply click Create Blank Pathway. When we're first in SuperPath, we're presented with this panel. This is the basics of where we start to create pathways. On the right-hand side, we have our name. Let's give this the company onboarding. We can also add a subtitle if needed, or we can leave it blank. You can also add a cover. With the covers, you click on the three ellipses here to upload your own image, or you can choose something from Unsplash. Let's just choose a basic image. Here I can also add a description. This is common across all the different step types as well. Here we have our rich text editor. This supports many different functions, including bolding, underlining, different types of formatting, tables, lists, alignment. You can also add images. You can also set a table of contents, and you can also insert interactive content if needed. Let's add our first step. To add your first step, click the Add Step button. Here you're presented with all the content from your library. If you have the public library available, you'll also be able to search that public library. You're also able to filter to only your library by clicking the toggle here to only show content from in your library. Once you've found the content you're after, you simply click the plus button. Now I've added my first step. I can continue to add multiple steps when required by clicking the Add Step. From Add Step, I get a choice here of adding content, which is any content from the library, or I can also add a text step. The text step is exactly what it says in the name. It's just a step that contains text. Here you could add anything, next actions. You could insert an image, a table, for instance, or any form of rich text here. You can also configure each step by choosing a different image as required. If you have the knowledge base activated within SuperPath, you can also add a knowledge article. Here you can search for your knowledge articles and simply add one of those where required. Sometimes the order here is great, but sometimes you might want to group your steps together. Here you can use sections. By adding a section, you can then add additional learning steps within that section. In this case, let's just call this week 1. In week 1, I might decide these are the basics I need to learn now, and then in week 1, I want to add some additional steps. Here we can click Add Content. In this case, I'm going to choose an event. This event might be company training day. I can simply add that event. Now that is added to week 1. I can continue to add steps to beef out that section, and then continue to add new sections as required. Once you're ready to go, we want to have a little quick look at the pathway settings. Here we can perform different actions or basic actions of the pathway, like setting the category. In this case, we'll set it to company culture, setting the level. These are useful in the search. We can set an instructor or skills learned, or we can also create a certificate. I'll go into more detail in the advanced tutorial of how to configure pathways. Once you're ready to go, you can simply click the Publish button. This means that this pathway is now ready to be assigned to any users. It's important to note that a pathway can only be published as long as every section has steps inside it. A section without steps cannot be published. When you're ready, you can simply click the Assign button. From here, I can choose people or teams, and I can assign it based on a due date or any advanced criteria. This is the basics of how to build learning pathways within SuperPath.